Well, I'm here with author Leanna Renee Hieber. So, author Leanna Renee Hieber, how was your flight out to Oklahoma?
It was great. A long one because I was coming from London. So I was in London researching my new series, The Eternaphiles, and I had a lovely trip in London. So I'm a bit jet lagged, but I'm happy to be here.
And now, can you tell us a little bit about the Eternaphiles?
Absolutely. It is positing a paranormal arms race for immortality between London and America in 1882. So it is following two covert offices, kind of a bit X-Files, a bit MI5, totally Victorian, but with all of the elements of the fantastical and the paranormal that I love to create and that I love to write in. It will have crossover characters from my other series, and it's definitely a cast of thousands, quirky characters, very, very character-driven, and action-adventure, and really wonderful office dynamics, and I'm having an absolute blast with the series so far. And so I got a chance to go over to England and to do some research and go inside some places that I hadn't been before, and specifically figure out where my characters lived and the streets that they would walk, which is very important to me to try and experience those things and have that on an internal level as I write.
Well, and especially if you're writing about the area, you need to make sure that you've been there so that you understand it, so that you can really do it, give it justice.
Absolutely. I mean, there's something to be said for being able to write just by researching something, and you don't necessarily have to specifically go there. But I really have found that if I'm remotely physically able to, that I have to walk the streets.
Wonderful. And now you have a... Well, with all hope, the children crying will not. But I'm pretty sure it'll be fine though. But for those, in case it's not picking up on the microphone,
Is it picking up?
Leanna is making children cry. It's because she's goth. It's what happens. Goths just make children cry.
That's what we do. Even though I'm a happy goth.
Right. Oh no, you can still be a happy goth.
I'm a perky goth. I'm not scary.
It's
children.
It's just the goth movement. It makes kids cry. So, tell me a little bit about the twisted tragedy of Miss
Natalie Stewart.
You need to put less words in your title.
It's not my fault. Making children cry. That's what I'm doing. Making children cry. That's what the book is about.
Beautiful. Just making children cry.
So yes. So this lovely creature is coming out in less than a month. So the beginning of November, which I'm very excited about. It is the sequel to Darker Still. So it is the sequel in the Magic Most Foul saga. And this saga takes place in 1880 New York City. And it is filled with curses and dark magic and haunted paintings and demonic possession and exorcisms and reanimation. Each one of the books has a tie to a particular Victorian classic. So the first, Darker Still, the tie is to the Picture of Dorian Gray. My tie in the sequel, in Twisted Tragedy, is Frankenstein. I have a reanimation thread that goes through this particular book. And the adventures continue. Lord Denbury and Miss Natalie Stewart become a wonderful team together. And it's another adventure. It's another case to solve. They're trying to figure out the people that are behind the possession that Denbury faced. They're trying to see what they want, and they're still in danger. They still have the dark magic that's following them, and so they're kind of off on the next case, as it were, as other people become increasingly involved in it, and the circle of victims expands. That this secret dark spooky group is targeting just gets larger and larger. So I'm very excited about the book because it's very action packed, and my editor thinks it's one of the best books I've written. So I'm very excited about that, and I think that I'm definitely excited to bring new characters forward. I do create a goth club in 1880 New York City, which I'm very excited to share with everyone because that was probably my favorite thing to write in the book. So yeah, so more adventures, more fun, more corsets, more pretty dresses.
More clubs that make children cry.
Oh yeah, all kinds of things to make children cry. Nightmares. There's some really juicy nightmares in this one. That's been one of my favorite parts to write is the aspects of horror that are threading through this series specifically. Definitely one of those books that might not necessarily want to read right before bed. At least not the nightmare scenes.
And now with, obviously, we're at a steampunk convention.
Yes.
You are a guest here.
Yes.
And your writing is not necessarily like steampunk with giant gears and giant machines, but it's a little bit more gaslamp romance, correct?
Specifically, gaslight romance and gaslight fantasy. I mean, my books are shelved between romance and young adult and fantasy. There's been lots of crossover with my work. I'm a very cross-genre writer. And so I'm definitely writing gaslamp fantasy. And that's specifically a sort of a delineation that explains the more fantastical elements of the greater steampunk umbrella. So rather than gears and gadgets, we're driven by elements from fantasy. So in my first series, Strange the Beautiful, I have Ghostbusters. They don't have, jetpacks that with the contraptions that trap the spirits. They use holy fire to trap the spirits. And so that's much more of a fantasy convention than it is a science fiction convention. So that delineation is helpful for those who, maybe really, really love fantasy, but they want to see all of the aesthetic elements that brings them into steampunk. It's still very much accepted within the steampunk community, and it's only a delineation that helps the reader understand what they're getting into. It's not meant to be an exclusionary thing at all. Tor will be publishing an anthology early March 2013 called Queen Victoria's Book of Spells, and it's a beautiful anthology that I'm honored to be a part of that is a collection specifically of gaslamp fantasy. So it isn't the goggles and the airships and the science aspects. It is definitely all the fantastical, but it still has the same sweeping settings and the same elements that the same 19th century aesthetics and thoughts and conflicts and reimagination that really powers the steampunk imagination.
Awesome. So, Leanna, the question that we're going to be asking everyone this weekend, why does steampunk still matter?
Steampunk still matters because it is a place where people come together from all different walks of life, from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, from all kinds of different places, come together because we're interested in both history and reimagining history. For me, history is never dead. For me, history is never just in the past. I'm learning so much about where we are now because of where we have come. And as I write, I'm noticing parallels with our modern society into the Gilded Age. The gap between the rich and the poor is similar today as it was in the late Victorian era. And so I think by looking backwards, we can start to understand where we are. And then while we're here in this group of completely amazing artists and completely amazing visionaries, we can reimagine where we go from here, looking to the past, towards the future, in a way I feel that is powered by creativity.
Wonderful. All right, so make sure to take a look at the book that has a very long title. The Twisted Tragedy of Miss Natalie Stewart, right?
Very good, very good. All of my books do tend to have very long titles. Not necessarily by my choice. So authors have very little say into the covers and into our titles and things like that. I love my covers and I love my titles, but that's very much a joint venture between the marketing department and myself. So don't, when you were trying to put that on Twitter, just don't hate me. You can just call it Twisted Tragedy. That's fine.
We're going to hashtag it with a whole bunch of just the letters. It'll be TTMSN.
Yeah, that's what they did with Strangely Beautiful. They just did the letters.
All right, beautiful. Well, Leanna Renee Hieber, making children cry.
Thank you. No.
No, that's the end.
Writing wonderful books that you all want to read.
Leanna Renee Hieber, writing wonderful books that you'll all want to read and will make your children cry.